Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, How to Get It Just Right. Thank you so much for joining us for another insightful and exciting conversation. We're living in a world where AI is everywhere. It's in our personal life, it's in our professional life, it's all around us. And everybody is wondering, what is the future? Where is this taking us? And businesses are asking the question, how do we use it right in a way that it's going to help and support my business and grow my business? But at the same time, I need to have the right people to build it and innovate and drive my business. So today's conversation in the spirit of Goldilocks is going to be getting AI just right for us as professionals, for us as entrepreneurs. And to have this conversation is somebody who has contributed tremendously over 25 years in the world of technology and innovation. And in the interest of full disclosure, the founder and CEO of TechFides, the organization for which I am the CFO. Welcome, Jacques. Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, and thank you for helping us get AI just right.
Thank you, Kas, and I'm very excited to be with you today because we're going to talk about a topic that is essentially leading every conversations around the table, around the office. And I believe this is something that we need to talk about it because at the end of the day, the future, when we think about the future, is really AI going to lead that.
Mhm.
Mm.
Thank you, Jacques. So I want to open up with the notion of addressing the fear first, right? Everybody is concerned, is AI going to take over my job? What's going to happen to the economy? What's going to happen to the workforce? Fear is such a clear leading edge of this in society, given that the large companies have been massively downsizing. So as a technologist and a innovator in the space, what are your thoughts and what advice do you have for professionals?
I think when we're thinking about fear, there's really multiple category of fears, and we have to put them in a bucket, in a separate bucket. There's the one that really understand and know AI itself and the potential of a damage that AI can cause when it falls under the wrong hands. There's also the one that trying to embrace AI, but do not understand at what capacity, at what depth they can use AI and what AI can do for them. And then there's the one that just the naysayer, they just see AI and no idea what it is, but at the same time, AI is coming really, really, really fast because the time for them to get on board, they keep staying off the bus, off the train, but being reluctant to understand, to embrace, is causing a lot of chaotic environment. But we have seen that before, specifically when internet started, because people were like, what the heck is internet? What is that at? What is that this? Email and all of those things, right? People were afraid as well. But at the same time, people get on board slowly, embrace it, and then now become a daily common usage of everything that we have. And it's the same thing, crypto, and now it's AI. The best and potentially the bad thing is the speed of adoption from an AI perspective. It's in everything that we do, regardless of the industry that you're in. If you look at COVID, from securing a vaccine to COVID to where we were, it's something that extremely, extremely important because without AI, there was no way that we were going to advance so fast to bring a solutions to what we have today, to where we are today. And it's the same when you think of the pharmaceutical company, the health industry, the manufacturing companies. All of those are things that really speeding the speed of AI on getting things done is just shaking the world right now because people don't know where they're going. And when we put them in each one of those buckets, and each one of them are very, you know, have the right to be concerned about what it is not. Specifically, when you think about security, but from a cyber security or threats perspective, because if the same way the good guys are using AI, you have the bad guys using AI as well. So the question is, how is that going to be compete in the marketplace? And people that's going to try to take over. When you think about airplanes going left and right, and then access to that cockpit and all of those things. So there's a lot of questions, concerns being raised in how do we protect the environment that we all love dearly.
I love the breadth with which you address this, Jacques, because you're not just talking about people losing jobs, you're talking about people actually understanding how to navigate right alongside it at the same time, what to guard against. Because just like everything else, the best things in human hands used for the wrong reason can become a huge risk. So thank you for sharing that. Now, as we pivot from individual professionals to businesses, what are you seeing in terms of how small businesses and medium-sized organizations, even governments and not-for-profits, how are they adopting? Are they truly adopting, or where do you see them currently? Because starting from that, then I want to dig deeper subsequently.
Yeah, the adoptions rate from a business perspective, specifically small businesses are jumped in uh, significantly right now on AI because what they do, they, you know, go through a big mega company adopting the license engagement. For example, get the license from Anthropic or Claude. They would get license from ChatGPT, Perplexity. So they use a little bit of everything. But when you look at also the big companies, most likely a lot of them start using private AI. And that private AI, this is where a lot of people need to start thinking about. And the reason why is when you think about the gigantic box, such as ChatGPT, they have massive funding, massive data consumizations that they are consuming those data. And then every information that they whip from you become taking your business model. And then after that, improve their engines, their solutions, and then now become a solution to the marketplace. So what does that do for a small business? The lack of competitivity is being taken away from you. You being completely isolated because at the end of the day, you don't have the massive infrastructure to just go and then compete against those big bucks. But at the same time, there's something else that happened with those big companies is really giving the voice to the voiceless. Now you have the infrastructure, you have the capability to just go and then create and then build something and then deliver as fast as you can in the marketplace. But what we on the TechFides side, what we have done is really thinking about the small businesses. How do you protect your IP? How do you protect your environment? How you protect your business models? And that business models that you have is unique to you. And what we said, why not creating or build a private AI? That private AI, it's owned by you. It's define your business. You define your business model based on the consumptions, based on the relationship that you have with your clients. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to improve, but at the same time, it is protected. and the system getting to be smarter and smarter and smarter based on the interactions that your business, your clients have with you, and then the information that you're providing to the system, to the private AI that you have. And that's where it gets good. But in addition to that, when you look at what's going on in the marketplace as well, now there's a race towards agent, right? How from in order to harness everything that you have around your business, and then you starting building all of those um, robotic staff that you want to enable to grow your business. And then that's where it's become a little bit complicated because now when you start thinking about from a responsible AI perspective, what does that mean? Do you
So, Jacques,
allow?
that's where you're talking about everybody having an executive assistant. They have their AP person, their AR person. They're all bots. They're AI-driven processes. And that's what you're referring to when you talk about all of this automation that is not human, but AI. So, what are some of the governance things people need to think about? I want to talk about that and then come back to something else. So go ahead and give us your insights on some of the governance elements businesses need to keep in mind.
So what business need to think about the business model as managing daily operations or managing people is not does not change, should not change with agents. Because when you have agents, you set key skills for each one of those agents, or sometimes some right now, the industry is not no longer talking about prompt, they're talking about skills. But at the same time, there's people that are using prompt in order to enable those agents to execute certain tasks for them. What the concern is, who's governing that agent, those agents that you have enabled to do everything for you and the organization. For example, in any typical organizations, you would have like maybe 15 to 20 agents. What does that mean? Do you have 15 agents wanting and then do whatever they want? And if it is the case, you need to think back. Do you have 15 people wanting and then do whatever they want? So now the sad thing, it's not the sad thing, it's the evolution of every new technology. The government is not involved. No government around the world is involved in what's going on from an AI perspective. The private industry is the one leading those type of initiatives, right? But the question is when we start thinking there's a lot of conversations around responsible AI. What are we doing about responsible AI? How can we coexist between agent and human? And human can be enabled to understand those script and as well as those prompt that required by those agent to execute specific A, B, C, D, and then bring it back to the human level for the human level to agree those are exactly what was agreed to. And then put a governance on top of that. And that governance is checking all of the KPIs, checking all of the logs access, that the agents go and then do certain things, the operational model of that agent, and then to ensure that, yes, on a weekly basis or on monthly, or even trigger something when something happened that is bad, you receive that information and then be able to take action. And human will take actions against what happened. And that's
So,
where we need to take this.
so that clearly sets up a procedural requirement from a governance and compliance perspective to have a human in the loop. That is very important because as a CFO, one of the things I constantly worry about is directors and officers liability, errors and omission liability, insurances, all are governed for humans. And when organizations create throughput AI initiatives,
Yeah.
with the human, there's only a rubber stamp. then insurance companies are going to come and say, you know what, you violated the basic insurance covenances. Therefore, your errors, omissions, and other liabilities are no longer covered. And oh, you C-suite, all you employees, you're all personally criminally liable. And so are the directors of organizations. So that is a huge risk that humans need to understand. And paired with that is also the data governance part, Jacques. Can you talk a little bit about lawyers, doctors, coaches, people who do work with humans with private information, personally identifiable information, even educational institutions? How could that get compromised in this world, not only losing insurance coverage, but also then creating a PII exposure and a data governance exposure?
That's a fantastic question. And one thing that we have done, Kaz, is the requirements for any business organizations does not change. It can improve, but at the same time does not change because the legal requirements are still there. HIPAA, SOX, GDPR, and all of those are the things that standard across multiple domains, right? What need to happen is when business are onboarding to AI, they need to thoroughly think about the regulations requirements that set the standard for their specific industry. And in our case, what we have done is when we go through an automations for any specific of this domain, we have consultants that are expert in that specific area. If it is SOC, we have someone that do have the expertise so that they understand from a skills perspective what would be the requirement in order for us to enable certain things for that specific client. If it is hyper, the same thing. So we have to be able to sit with the client, documented some of their requirements, and then after that, now certain, you know, organizations is required us to be certified in specific areas so that we can provide that service to them. And those are the things that we're looking at when we're hiring consultants, when we're hiring contractors. We want to make sure those contractors are fully aligned with the regulations requirements so that we can provide the support that required by the clients. Now, the other things that you talk about from a data perspective, data is the largest asset of any company other than its people. And the question is, how do you protect that data? Because data comes, data goes, right? But at the same time, the quality of data that you bring into the environment, it's important for you to be able to understand those business processes so that when you have that baseline, you understand specifically the data, is the data clean, is the data this, is the data that, so that now you can start stratify to make sure that you get the right data to provide that support, the needs that your organization's going to need.
Thank you, Jacques. I have one more question before we open it up to our live audience. You mentioned private AI. I used the term sovereign AI. We are seeing where data providers like AWS, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they're all scouring data without permission, right? Even authors who've published on Amazon, while our content is copywritten, Amazon scours all of that and then creates coaches and writes books and creates music and all of the content they are creating. And now they have actually launched a logistics business competing with UPS and FedEx. So just like Amazon came into the marketplace, putting bookstores out of business, they are slowly and gradually going after pockets of industries that are predominantly either logistics related or small business centric so that they can take the entire market away from an entire host of small business owners. How can sovereign AI and the solutions TechFides brings guard against that and give entities, whether it's a small medical practice or a law practice or a coaching service, any business, how can it be protected from a data perspective, cloud perspective, AI perspective with a TechFight solution of sovereign AI?
So the industry is changing and it's changing very fast. And the sad thing of that is it's the wild, wild west right now because government is not involved. Government is monitoring what's going on, but at the same time does not understand by themselves what's going on. If you go to the House floor, most likely 95 or 99% of the House representative would not be able to talk to you about AI. They don't understand it, they don't know it, right? And it's the same thing when you go to the business landscape. There's just a few of us that can talk about AI. And when I'm talking about AI, I'm not talking about from the technicality of it, but from a capability of it. So what we said within TechFight, we said you have to protect your IP. More informations that you provide to those big organizations, more you enable their system, their LLM system, to really understand exactly your business. Because you educating them on behalf of your business, and then they become smarter about your business than you think you are. Because now, from a processes perspective, from a requirements perspective, from a client interactions perspective, marketings, operations, and all of those, now they become the sole source of what you hoping to get out of their solutions. And the next things you know, when you look at cloud, when you look at ChatGPT, when you look at Perplexity, all of those folks, while they have their specific key core, but the generalizations of all of those instances are mega, are huge. And then think about it. Now the world going to convert maybe in 4 and 5 companies, right? So the reason is we as a user are enable the system to learn so much about us. And then the system is become at one point, I'm afraid it's going to become more intelligent than us. More intelligent than us. And if that happen, then obviously you're going to be solely depends on that system. What we're saying is from a small business perspective, go to private AI, going back to the sovereign AI, however you want to call it. Private AI, this is yours. It focuses on everything that you need for your business. You protect your IP, and then you engage with your respective clients, and it sits on a box in your house. It's not a big box. We're talking about a Mac Mini. We're talking about Raspberry Pi. We're talking about something that's very small. It sits right on your desk. You don't have to see it. It can be just your computer as well, right? And then you just deploy Yama and you just you know, and that's how it can operate. And then after that, now you can manage your business, be a little bit peacefully. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have your competitors, but that enable you to understand your business much better, to improve your business workflow, to improve your processes, to improve your, interactions with your clients, and as well as marketing, social media, and all of those things. Those are the things that we provide. And then the back end operations of your organization, we build that as well to make sure that all of these are in one touch point that you can go and then do everything that you need to do.
Beautiful. So everything is private, it's protected. Data is not sitting somewhere else where somebody else is scraping, and everything is in your house. When we say house, your business, your
Yeah.
corporate office, wherever your business is conducted, you can have that, or you can have it in a disaster recovery location and hit it against from your office, right? So there are a lot of different capabilities.
And Kaz, one thing that I'd like to highlight is from our side, what we also have. when we talk about domain expertise, we bring folks that, for example, we talk about cybersecurity. We have folks that have been in the industry for 10, 20, 15 years, right? We bring those guys to really take a look at what we're doing. Because at the same time, we talk about the bad guys on the industry. The good guys also have to take a look at what we're deploying for our clients. And we have those domain expertise to make sure that they understand exactly how is that going to work. But at the same time, with a mix of AI, because now when we're thinking about IT, the IT that we knew yesterday is shift. Because now the IT that we knew yesterday, those are legacy. Because now when we talk about AI cover everything. So we're talking about ability for you to build a CRM in the back end on your solution. You're talking about ability to build anything that repository that you need in order to launch your business. It's just right on your palm of your hand. You can just go in and launch that. So all of those things are things that you need to be aware of. You have the capability. It's a question of getting the right team to really help you launch it and make that happen.
Jacques, before I open this up, thank you for that. Can you please share with our audience how they can find TechFides and how they can get a hold of you to have any follow-up conversations?
So thank you for that. TechFides is TechFides, TechFides.com. You can, once you get on TechFides, you would be able to see all of the services that we provide. You can also get access to me and the team who's going to do what and how we're going to work with you. We're very, very transparent. The other thing, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on social media. You should be able to see me there. Jacques M. Jacques is Jacques. And then middle name is M for Medina. And then after that, Jean, Jean. And once you click that, I should be the first one that show up on LinkedIn. And then feel free to share your feedback and then reach out to me and then let's have a conversation.
Thank you, Jacques. I am going to open this up to our live audience. Nandini, since you're driving, if you have any questions, I'll let you go first.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Jacques. This was very interesting, and I learned a lot from this little bit. So I have a private medical practice. We're a medium practice, and we've been sitting on the sidelines, as you said, waiting and trying to figure out where we get in. We know, there's parts of like patient care that, intake and stuff that we can do AI, but we've been waiting for our EMR company to come up with something so it's integrated. And what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, from you is that, yes, we can do that. And there is also this other part that we could be potentially waiting on that will never happen. And that's where TechFight comes in, because you can do the automation and the personal assistance for me, for the other partners and owners and the management, so that we run smoother and it's more cost effective. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing. Yes.
Okay. So how does that work, and how do we then integrate what you come up with to the EMR that we are using, I guess, is where I'm wondering.
So thank you for the questions. So there's really three category of things that when you think about your organizations that you need to think about. There's the things that are core legal requirements. You work with an organizations that potentially a top down that give you guidance on how to operate as an organization. There's also the waste capability that you have within your organizations that you as a business owner you know you're spending way too much money in that specific area. There's a way to mitigate or to reduce that total cost. But at the same time, the big organization does not address that for you. It's like having a franchise. The franchise say, this is what you need to get done. You're going to get it this way, right? You and the organizations, there's that little delta, the difference that you can manage that give you the opportunity to optimize your organization. And the question is, how do you manage that optimization? That optimization can come from an outsider, like TechFides. Say, hey, TechFides, this is where I'm struggling with, and this is what we can do. And then now, and this is, I'm talking to her about something that we have done with a specific client. We show up and then help you with that. Most of the time is redundancies. Most of the time is process improvement. Most of the time, ability for you to handle clients' call. And most of the time, it's something else. So now there's a system for you from a medical office's perspective. There's a system that enable you to, you have to be hyper compliance and all of those things. This is now moving, looking at your top down organizations that set specific requirements as far as how to handle interactions with clients and all of those things. And we can work with you on that as well. But at the same time, it might not just depend on you, it depends on the big mothership, what we call your headquarter, the folks that you sign up with, the organizations that give you direction, the organizations that give you the platform to do certain things. And if they're already using AI, then it's going to be a easier conversation. But if they're not using AI, they're still waiting for the government for HOA to for the health department to really make the decisions on how to move forward. Then I would highly advise you not to push it. Let them work it at the top. But at the same time, looking at your competitors as well, because a lot of folks are being very creative because that's where they're going to gain win the market share because they will. Some folks are using AI, and AI is really helping them discover a lot of stuff that they did not know before. And that's how I would approach it. And that's how
Yeah.
we've been doing it with some clients.
So the way I'm understanding, Jacques, is the provider you currently have, Dr. Menon, may not be AI ready. We can look at the rest of the organization and put everything in place and be ready for when they're ready, how to bolt on and how to integrate. But if they're ready, it can be integrated. So integration is not the problem. Are they ready for integration is the question.
Right. Yeah.
But that
again,
doesn't stop you from doing the things that you need to do to protect your data, to have cybersecurity, data governance, and process control, and the guidance that you need, and the AI agents that can run some of the things.
the other advice that I would give you is also don't feel like you have to go in the trap to use the bigger system so that whenever you conducted a small research, whenever you're trying to do something in the office, you're feeding ChatGPT, you're feeding those big engine. They understanding your environment. They're taking over your whole business processes. And that's where we talk about data leakage. And this is where you're feeding those system and then they're consuming everything that you know of. What we're saying is, what about if you take it from a micro step perspective? You said, okay, let me try that. Let me put that in my office. Those are the things that I need. Those are um, it's not going to connect with the bigger provider, with your provider, but it's going to to be isolated just for your office. And then now you can slowly migrating, slowly trying to understand what it is, how you can work with it, and then take basic data sample. And that sample, once you understand, you become very good at it, and then now you know exactly how to take it forward. Because when we think about it, 80% of companies right now that invest in AI, they are failing miserably. They're not seeing the return. And the reason for that is they are all over the place. But if you take a data sample that is very small, and then now you focus on that, you start investing a lot of time, put resources, organize resources in that so that they can clearly optimize what the outcome that you're looking for, you will win significantly.
Mhm. Nandini, the other thing people are experiencing, whether you're running a tailor shop or you're running a medical provider services, if people are using AI, AI is learning, and the AI companies are building robots to do those work, right?
Correct.
So every profession and every professional office is empowering and transferring their intellectual property and know-how to these big 4 to 6 companies to eventually run the whole world. So what the private AI does is contains your process, your intellectual property, your wisdom, knowledge, insights, everything internally. You're not building your competition. You're using their source of information to expand your thinking, but your information and your processes are private.
Right. Okay. So I guess um, the question would be like for somebody to start even doing that, what is like the cost of that? Like for our, if we were supposed to come to you and say, hey, okay, so we're waiting in line for this, like for you to come and do an assessment and figure out how is this going to work and what do we need? Um, because we already have so many parts in medicine where we source out to like different companies, and now the
Mhm.
AI sourcing again, I'm guessing by you coming in, we're going to be able to combine a lot of other things and get rid of some, and that's what you mean by redundancies, because the AI can handle the phone,
And
so
and
yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
that's exactly what it is, right? Because you raise the questions about what would be the cost. We
Mhm.
cannot tell you, right? Because anyone who tell you that this is what the cost going to be, I would be very concerned about that because there's a lot of things that we don't know yet about your organization. How many
Mm.
people? What are the things that you're dealing with? How many transactions that you have per month? What are the licenses? What are the vendors that you are dealing with? What each one of those vendors do for you, right? What is the total cost of what is your total operations cost per month? So we have to take a look at those. And I would also advise you not to take a vendor that going to say that they're going to eliminate 100% of your total costs because at the end of the day, you have to go on the micro steps. Um, you focus on one element, you see the return, and then you move to the other one. You see the
Mm.
return, and then you move to the other one. It's like basic project management, but at the same time, because you want to make sure that whatever the tools that's being implemented for your site, for your business, it's really reaping the benefits that you were expected. Because I'm telling you that most of corporations, we're talking about 80% of corporations that dive into AI, right now they don't see the benefits, they don't see the return. And the reason for that is because of lack of focus. They did not have the right team. They did not have the right focus. Their strategy was not there. And there are so many other elements that is not there. What need to be rethinking is, and this is something that we have seen in IT for 100 years, right? What need to do is the discipline of, okay, you have 20 elements that you have identified as potential optimizations area that you can optimize. What would be priority one? What would be priority two? What would be priority three? For example, on our AI readiness assessment, what we do, we give you a heat map. That heat map give you all of the big red flags and then yellow and then green. And then the red one that represent potentially a big threat, a big opportunity for you, we advise you to target those. And then let's focus on one, two, three, and then after that, once we start looking at converting all of those into green, and then now you can sit back, you say, aha, those are the benefits, those are the things that I was exactly expected out of my business. And then now you can shift and then move and then focus. Because now, from an automation's perspective, you fix that, you understand all of the variables that you can improve, you can change, you can leave it on autopilot, and then come back and then make sure those things work. That's what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, Nandini. And if ever there is an opportunity for us to talk, happy to have that private conversation with you and your medical partners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Robin. I know you have questions.
Okay, this is more of a global question. And so I have a friend who is passionate that China not develop AI before the US because they'll take over the world, et cetera, et cetera. And has laid out a somewhat pretty convincing case on that. On the other hand, just yesterday, I hear about a company here in the US where they've created a lot of these AI generated characters. And one character is a doctor. And 45,000 people got on with this doctor, including this company who was investigating. It was actually a government entity, maybe one here in California. And this fake person, who I guess looks like a real person, is actually giving out medical advice and then claims to have this license. Here's my license number. And so, of course, they got busted. But I'm wondering, what is the balance between international competition in developing AI and the controls that the United States is generally known for, having controls over the environment or things like that? How do you balance that, or is it even possible to balance that?
I think this is from my little world. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I think from a geopolitical perspective, this become a real war, a real global war, because the competitions right now, obviously, we have two superpower. We have US and then we have China. In China, I have to tell you, they are very, very much advanced. We might not agree about it, but at the same time, when you're looking at what's going on, for example, just on an EV perspective, electric car, electric vehicle, when you look at it, the full integrated platform as far as they deliver those cars, you're asking yourself, wow, why we did not have something like that in US? And it's not just when you look at the car is also integrated with everything that you have in your house, right? The way that you manage your temperature, the way that you open your door, the security system that you have in your house, all of those things. So government is spending huge amount of money to make sure that they are the first from an AI world, and they are pushing the boundaries. They are pushing the boundaries. Now, the thing that I don't know if you take a look at some of the conversation that was going on between the event that President Trump has with President Xi in China. Obviously, there was a lot of concerns about, going back to responsible AI. Are we going to allow AI to manage the next nuclear, So all of those things are things that we don't think about it, but those are the things that are real, where you can pre-program AI agent to just destroy the world. Now, it's not something that I'm aware of, but at the same time, this is something that sometimes I go and then, curiosity, read about those and then talk to folks about those. And have a bunch of colleagues of mine that are cybersecurity folks, and those are the things that we take a look at. And I just got back from Africa, and even countries in Africa now are investing in AI because the next big revolutions is there. And the question is, you don't want to be left behind. And data centers is being built all over the world because from an energy consumption perspective, for them to be able to deliver what's required, they have to be engaged. So the competitions is fierce, is going around the world. But when you think about US and China, um, it's even in our face. So going back to the questions that you raise, as far as for us to be aware it's there. There's nothing that we can do other than being observant, consume the information, understand where you are, understand what's going on, and the decisions that need to happen on a every 4 years perspective. From an elections perspective, you have to be thoughtful about, okay, who's going to be the best person that's going to protect what we have, how we do. And so that's how I would answer that.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of back in the the pioneer wagon days where people go around selling snake oil and then people having real medicine and people selling snake oil. I guess we're back to those days where you as a consumer have to be very cautious about what you're doing. And there's ways to detect if someone is a fake person or not. Um, any type of, fraud prevention and security. So I guess we're back to the day of you just have to be very alert and very, very careful and just do your own homework. So
And
anyway,
yeah,
thanks.
and the system is getting smarter and smarter because the quality, for example, the conversations that we're having right now, they can take that video and then after that plug it into any AI. And the next things we know, we're talking about something completely different. And every gesture, every move, everything that we do, the system mimic it so well, and then you say, no, this is Jacques. This is Jacques. This is Robin. Robin, that's how Robin is 100% facial. That's how it is. That's how you move. So the system is getting so smart about it to uh, just take the shape, take the voice, take the everything that you do. So those are the things that we have to be aware of and to find out. Think about last 4 years. I think it was like 2 or 3 years election, 2 years, 3 years. Think about all of the AI videos that come up, and then about Obama, about Trump, about Biden, about Kamala. So all of those things are going to be multiplied in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robin and Dr. Menon, for bringing your insightful questions. And Jacques, thank you so much for making time to have this important conversation. And we may have to continue this to touch on other topics because this is such a important conversation to have. So with your permission, down the road, we'll bring you back. But for now, thank you so very much. And it has been a pleasure. Any closing thoughts you have?
I would say that AI is here to stay. Um, we have to be educated about it. The world have, I do believe that the world have no choice, but at the same time, we have to be very aware, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Those are whatever we do in life, those always has existed. And the question is how we're going to navigate that next few years to make sure that we continue to protect ourselves. I do believe that there's capability for us to continue to monitor the bad, the ugly, and our job is to be consistent and then to make sure that we have the capability on our power to manage that.
Thank you so much, Jacques. Appreciate your insights and your time. And to our audience out there, You heard the conversation, you heard the emphasis on data governance and security and ability to contain your intellectual property. All of these things matter. But remember, AI may be intelligent and may become more intelligent, but the human being is wise. And what is the difference? Intelligence is about knowing the right answer. Wisdom is about understanding if the right answer is going to create a positive impact in the world. What are the consequences of those choices? And should we do it or should we not do it? And therefore, the human wisdom is always going to be driving the decisions and actions, which is why human in the loop is necessary. So no matter what's going on around you, keep learning, keep growing, and keep your own development towards wisdom, because AI can replicate knowledge, but the wisdom comes from the human. So focus on the wisdom and make sure wherever you stand is the place where wise decisions with the right impact is made for the human society.